I'm here with Maureen Conklin, the Nutrition Services Manager. And we're starting a new segment this school year called Simple Cooking with Maureen. And the whole kind of the idea of the segments will be that, you know, cooking doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be too time-consuming or expensive. Sometimes people want to just go through a drive-through because it's quick and easy, and sometimes they think cheap, but really, when you see what we're going to create here with, of course, our new friend, Reinal, that you can create healthier choices at home for less than what would probably cost you at a restaurant, and so that's the whole idea.
Well, what we're going to start with today is we're going to make some bread. And great cookbook if you want to go to your library and get it, Artisan Bread in 5 minutes a day.
Nice.
Okay, and this is just the simplest, easiest technique. And what we're going to do is we've got 6½ cups of flour. So go ahead and dump that right in.
We're going to take 6½ cups of flour.
Now, is that just all-purpose flour, or is it baking flour?
This is all-purpose, unbleached flour.
Okay.
And it hasn't been shifted.
You can use a combination of this and that and whole wheat bread, or whole wheat flour, however you want to do it. And you got 1½ tablespoons of salt, dump it right in. 1½ tablespoons of yeast, just dump it right in.
So far, 3 ingredients.
3 cups of water.
3 cups of water.
You want that lukewarm. You don't want it too cold, but if it's cold, that's not a problem. Just go ahead and dump it right in. And now you're just going to mix, and just go ahead and use your hand. And what you want to do is just incorporate all the ingredients. And this is the only part that's really going to be a lot of work because it's a lot of flour in there, and you just want to get it all combined.
Would a person have to be careful in over-mixing, you know, that you don't necessarily want to beat the bread to death?
Doesn't matter. Just get it
all combined.
And once you no longer have dry flour in there,
ew, that looks messy.
Now, after that, you just cover it and you let it sit on your counter for at least 2 hours, and it's going to rise and it's going to do all the work for you. Yeah, it's kind of sticky.
So you mix and then you leave.
And then you leave it and you sit on your counter, and after about 2 hours or longer, and here's the other part, is the longer you let it sit, the more of that sourdoughy flavor it's going to have. It's
you can totally smell it, yeah.
You can also, at this point, just throw it in your fridge, and it will last up to 2 weeks in your fridge. And so you can just make a big batch and have several loaves over the next couple of weeks.
As long as it's covered in your fridge, a couple weeks,
put a lid on.
Awesome.
Now, at this point, you just want to take a lump off. When it comes time for baking, you take a lump off, and you're going to either use your cast iron Dutch oven, or you can just use a stainless steel pot. And what you do is you put this in the oven for ½ an hour at 450 degrees. So you want this screaming hot.
So it's empty, but when you put the bread in it, you want it like instantly starting to bake.
It's screaming hot.
Good.
And then you just take your loaf that you've just formed, and you're going to plop it right in.
Nice work.
Put the lid back
on.
Back into the oven for 30 minutes. After 30 mints, with the pot holder, because again, it's screaming hot.
Ouch!
Okay, you're going to take the lid off, cook it for another 15 minutes at 450 degrees, and then it's done.
So it would come out and look something like delicious.
And you get this awesome, crusty loaf of bread that is just, you're going to spend, gosh, a good $3, $4
easily,
in the supermarket
you know,
for this.
like La Brea bakery type thing. It's it's going to be a number of
This cost about 35 cents to make. Yeah, it's crazy insane.
Right.
And it was just, there is no work other than mixing it together.
Right, in a little bit of time. I mean, you gotta have to plan, but it's not like 7 hours. I mean, really, we're talking
nice and
less
simple.
than an hour total.
Okay, now we're going to move over to soup.
Ooh,
okay.
sopas.
So the only ingredient I really take any care to measure is my oil. I always want to measure out my oil because I don't want to go too crazy with the fats.
I do.
And then from there, you're just going to dump your ingredients.
Okay.
So now we've got about 2 cups of onions.
Sure.
Oh,
okay, if you want to keep
Sure.
chopping up the potatoes.
Chop it. And you've got this kind of cool contraption here so that it really takes a lot of the mess and danger out of handling knives.
About 2 cups of carrots.
Whoops.
And we got about 2 cups of celery. And you're just cooking this down.
Oh, what
And
a
I've got
great
about
job.
5 cloves.
garlic.
Garlic, minced up, chopped up.
Now, do you add the vegetables in order of which you want them cooked? So like the harder, firmer stuff you put in first?
I usually will do my onions first.
Sure.
And then as my onions are starting to cook, that's usually when I'm chopping up my carrots. As soon as my carrots are done, I'm throwing them in. They're the next hard part.
Are we putting potatoes in here?
Yep. So you want to pull this lid off. This contraption is just, it's the best. It just makes life so easy.
And you can always get a little, you know, choppy with the knife magic, but sometimes it's nice to use less utensils, a little less cleanup, if you will.
Now, are you allowing your onions to caramelize?
No,
Okay.
you just want to just soften them up. You want to get them a little bit translucent. But again, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You're just dumping it in because it's all going to cook. And
Cook
it depends on how long you want to keep it on your stove cooking. You know, you're hungry, you want to get it done quicker, so they're a little more crunchy.
Sure.
And that's fine too, because I kind of like my vegetables a little on the crunchy
Yeah,
side.
firm, but like you said, it's nice because you can do it to taste. If you like them softer, then you just cook them longer, yeah.
Can of tomatoes, diced tomatoes. You don't have them, don't put them in.
Don't put them in, sure.
But if this is a wonderful thing, a nice staple in your fridge,
Right.
in your cabinet. 2 cans of white beans, and what I did with these is I drained them and rinsed them.
Excellent.
Get all that sauce.
Like
and stuff
the starch and stuff from the beans.
there's kind of like a brine they're cooked in. It's a little goopy, a little starchy. So now we just have this all cooking, and we're
The
gonna
magic, the soup part, right? It just comes down to chicken stock, right?
Yeah, you can make your own stock. You have a turkey at Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Cook it down. Use all your scraps that you just used for your carrots, your peelings. I actually did that last night. I made a pot, used the peelings, and made stock from my carcass from Thanksgiving.
Nice.
You want to use the ends of your onions. You use the tops and
So all the
bottoms
kind of
of your
pieces, right?
tops and bottoms of your celery. Throw it all in there. The stems from my rosemary. So this is all going to come together. It's going to come to a boil. It's going to keep cooking. Now we want to add the flavor to it. So what we're going to do next is rosemary. Awesome, awesome, awesome to have growing in your yard. I mean, it grows so easy. It's about one of the only things I can actually grow in my yard. Just take your scissors and just snip off the leaves.
Yeah, you don't
Just
want
like
the
that.
branch part,
No, you don't
just
want
the
woody
green
stick.
part.
You just want the little like pine needle type stuff. Okay, throw that. The easiest way to do this, throw it right into a glass. You can have your kids do this.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about them cutting.
Because you want it real fine, right?
Yeah, you want to chop it up because otherwise it's kind of like eating grass.
Yeah, that's no
So
good.
you want it nicely chopped. And again, this technique works really well for parsley, for cilantro. You just want to dump that right in. Now, this is one of my favorites. I love using liquid smoke.
Yeah.
This is just like, it's like your secret little ingredient that you keep in the
Yeah,
cabinet.
my family grew up
$1.
on liquid smoke.
Yeah, $1 at the 99-cent store.
Nice.
You can get it in mesquite, you can get it in hickory. Have them both hanging out in your cabinet. It's great. And you just want to add a little bit of that right in there. And it's going to give it that nice smoky flavor. Kind of like that bacony.
Right, real
Bacon and
savory.
beans and everything.
Sure.
But it's vegetarian. So
Right.
if you're feeding a vegan, you don't
no
have
problem.
to worry.
Absolutely. Now, at this point, how long do you think the soup would have been cooking?
I probably, at home, if I were doing this as I was chopping, I'd probably be about 10 minutes into it.
Okay.
About now. And then you're just going to bring it up to a nice boil, and then you're going to taste it.
Cool.
And see, where are my seasonings? Because depending on what kind of stock you're getting, if
Right.
you're getting a very low sodium, which is very difficult to find, you're not going to find that so easy. But if you've made it and you didn't add any salt, it's not going to have any.
The salt was going to bring out all the flavors of everything.
So you want to taste it and then adjust your flavorings.
Oh,
Go ahead and
absolutely.
taste.
Shana.
It definitely needs a little salt. So you want to put in a little salt. And
Tastes
a little
like
bit
chicken.
and a little bit of pepper. And you want to put that in there. And again, give it a good stir. Now
Now-
you go off and you make sure the kids are doing their homework and everything is getting done. And this is just cooking on the stove and making the house smell amazing.
But how long do you usually cook your soup from beginning to end?
Probably takes me about 45 minutes because I'll start it and then I'll just let it go on the stove.
Right.
Just let it cook down.
I would think it would take a certain amount of time really for the for the vegetables to get cooked down, and for all the flavors to kind of marry. You know, otherwise it's too separate and everything.
Yeah.
So this is, let's show what kind of a finished product would look like. So you start, everything looks kind of raw, and then by the time you're done, it looks like something you would have.
It just all cooks down, but you don't want it to cook down too much. You still want it to have a little bit of that crunch to it, a little bit of body to it. So here, let's try this out.
Absolutely.
And now you've got this great meal. The soup makes about, let's get a little broth in there.
Get a broth.
This will make about 12 cups.
12 cups, and you figure how much did you spend initially?
Well, thank you.
And the cost on this is about $6, including the stock, if you're buying the stock. And again, I priced this out at a couple of different supermarkets in the area here, some out in Orange County, and they both came out about the same as far as the cost of the ingredients.
This is darn good
Really
vegetable
simple.
soup. Absolutely.
Here's my spoon to give this guy a stir. I don't want to do.
I think the thing that's great about a soup too is it's really filling. You know, you have a nice big bowl of soup with some of your bread and
Right.
Exactly.
You make sure that you have your beans in there, and that's your protein. So you
Absolutely.
can serve this soup if you used a vegetarian stock as opposed to a chicken stock. Now you have a nice vegan meal. A nice vegetarian if you have somebody that doesn't eat meat, or you have leftover chicken, throw it on in. You don't like rosemary? Don't use rosemary. You want it spicy? Throw a jalapeno in there, or a chili of any kind, and just give it more spice that way.
there's so many ways to just change and
Yeah,
vary it based
once
on what you want.
Right. Once you get the basic skill down, that's it. I mean, it's just that simple.
Awesome, and that is Simply Cooking with Maureen. So, thank you so much for coming on for our first segment.
Thank you for inviting me.
And we look forward to seeing some more, tasty tidbits here on the show. And with that, there's words I'm supposed to say and I totally forgot, sorry.